Now, it's pretty much common knowledge that Kathleen Kennedy is by far one of the worst producers in the Hollywood bubble of all time, based on what she did to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the Kenobi series, the Boba Fett show, and let's not forget about the most recent ones for 2023, Mandalorian Season 3, and Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's going on with the whole Kathleen Kennedy blacklisting scenario and how it just got even all the more worse. Now, like I always say, there are a number of people out there in the Hollywood bubble that are quite insufferable. It doesn't just apply to actresses, it also applies to producers. One of which being Kathleen Kennedy of all. She's a part of the insufferables, as I like to call them, like the expendables. We got a group of people that are just very hard to deal with. Now, when we look at stuff like this, alright, the fact that Lucasfilm is in such a delicate position right now, they have dealt with failure after failure after failure, and it led to Lucasfilm losing hundreds of millions of dollars. The Dial of Destiny was really the top of the list here about what happened with 2023 and how Disney really took action against her because of this. However, this is where matters get even worse. Now, we know that some Hollywood studios have been backing out and want nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy ever again. In fact, Marvel Studios, we know that she had her involvement with that. Disney specifically instructed Kevin Feige to not have any influence from Kathleen Kennedy upon the Marvel projects anymore, so that is actually no longer a thing. But external studios that are not associated with Disney at all are beginning to turn the tide against Kathleen Kennedy from ever having a future role as a producer. Now, with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy costing Disney hundreds of millions in recent years, including this year for Indiana Jones 5, one major development has to do with the current status of Kennedy and her blacklisting from Hollywood. Initially, studios like Universal, Lionsgate, and even Sony Pictures restricted Kathleen Kennedy from ever getting a producing opportunity after her role at Lucasfilm, since Kennedy has made it openly clear that she never plans to retire from the film industry, even if and when the time comes that her time at Lucasfilm comes to an end. However, one big update is that more studios have now finalized their plan of blacklisting Kathleen Kennedy. These studios that have now made their final decision include Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, Paramount, Skydance, and even Columbia Pictures. These are all virtually nearly all the major Hollywood studios that want nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy or her husband Frank Marshall, surprisingly, who is reportedly desperately trying to use his contacts at some of these studios to revert these actions against his wife Kathleen Kennedy. As it turns out, these turn of events actually caused Kennedy to expedite her plan to opening her own production studio that is currently dubbed Starlight Productions, that she plans to get up and running by the end of 2025. Now guys, let me just stop here for 1 second before I get to the more revealing stuff, is that we know that this has been an ongoing thing for about 2.5 years now. She has a studio that's a Kickstarter. She wants to get this to become a competitor against Star Wars, Star Trek, all things Dune related, stuff like that. And the biggest question I have is, why would Disney tolerate that? Why would Disney tolerate somebody like Kathleen Kennedy Disney knowingly actually, about all of her plans of opening such a said studio that would compete against them in the future? Why would they keep her on board? It sounds like, and I know it's, may come across as crazy talk, but it sounds like she may have something on somebody or a group of people at Disney, who knows? I'm just pointing it out there, it's a possibility. I don't want to go too overboard with that one, but it is a possibility. And I just find it to be very strange and quite suspicious why she would be allowed to stay on there. But what's interesting about this further is how a lot of studios, a lot of more Hollywood studios, are waking up and pointing the finger at Kathleen Kennedy, using her as a textbook example of a producer that's literally just destroyed technically 3 franchises in under 10 years if you want to count the Willow series. Not counting the Willow series, 2 major franchises is more than enough. Indiana Jones and Star Wars getting tainted by Kathleen Kennedy is insane. Never in a million years would I have thought that Star Wars would be in a position that it is in now. And say what you will about Ahsoka, you know, some people love and hate this show, some people actually have differing opinions on it episode by episode, and that's fine. But it's not going to save Star Wars at the end of the day. It all leads into the sequels, it all leads to Jake Skywalker, it all leads to everything that you love and hate about elements of the sequels. And when I say love, there are elements in the sequels that actually worked out pretty well. You know, there are some scenes that stand out, and that's about it. Never did I really enjoy the sequels from start to finish. They're just heavily flawed and just outright disastrous. So that's my take on things. Even if you were to course correct the sequel trilogy and somehow successfully reset those as initially planned that are now, of course, seemingly no longer happening, you still got the Kenobi series, you still got the Boba Fett show, and you still got Mando Season 3, which, by the way, directly highlighted that it all leads into the sequels with the Praetorian Guards. So, moving along further, alright? Now, Kennedy is fully planning on hiring ex-Lucasfilm employees and/or current ones that are loyal to her, while plans to make Leslye Headland of the Acolyte as vice president of this new studio is the current plan where it stands. The blacklisting situation only made Kennedy get more nervous and jump on this opportunity well before in order to stay in the Hollywood business properly, and the plan is for herself and Frank Marshall, among others, to kickstart and actually fund this new company along with some other contacts that they hold. Kennedy already cost Disney millions of millions more by wasting footage, mind you, with the Acolyte series as a result of over-budgeting that project in the process, that she did the same exact thing with Skeleton Crew, and it resulted in a loss of certain production roles that she was able to land for Star Wars and the TV shows by Disney that are no longer happening. So again, we talked about this as well earlier, that what Disney did initially about months ago is that she overfunded the Acolyte series. Literally, she overfunded it, and she filmed all these extra scenes that got cut, and it was just a waste of funds that Disney just threw out the window because of Kathleen Kennedy. They were not happy about that, and that's why she lost some producing gigs for Star Wars, and why some other producers are aimed to actually step in. There's a lot of talk that Jon Favreau will be producing some of the TV shows instead of writing some of them. So that's the overall plan right now. But anyway, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this entire scenario below in the comments. What do you think about the whole Kathleen Kennedy situation? And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.